So, we're back to me, which is unfortunate because I am the boring one. Hi, welcome back to Vlogalogue. This week we've been talking about the internet and what it was like when we first encountered it. And what I found particularly interesting was that DK and I think, probably had the most similar experiences with the internet. But Victoria encountered the internet at a ridiculously young age, and yet Alex and Niall, not so much. They've kind of had to really get on the speedy learning curve of internet very quickly because their access was somewhat inhibited, which I think is, because to me, I guess when I proposed the topic, it occurred, I thought that it would be mostly based on people's ages, that DK would have very old thoughts about the internet, and that it would just kind of, and that sounds like I'm saying DK is old. DK is not much older than me. But anyway, but that, you know, Victoria's memory would be like, yeah, I remember I discovered the internet, there was this thing called Gangnam Style. So, that also sounds like I'm making fun of her. I'm not trying to, but it seems like it was a lot more based on what parents' relationships were with the internet and what they decided to splurge on, as far as internet access goes. Which, I should have thought of that. One of the things that a lot of you guys talked about was not just the internet, but kind of what your technology culture was, I guess, growing up, which was entertaining for me as well, because, and I didn't talk about that much when I was just kind of briefly discussing the topic, but I remember the first video game console that we had, so my parents were like, nope, we're not getting you video, not happening, not happening. Then my uncle got us a Super Nintendo, which was amazing until it stopped working. And then I figured out how coaxial cables work, and I fixed it without my parents knowing, which was also fun. And so we kind of went through the Nintendo route for a while, but that was a long time ago. Video games weren't ever a huge thing for me, but you know, I talked about things like Flash cartoons and stuff. That was really more of a mid-high school type of thing for me. My first experience with the internet was Blink Tags and Prodigy, and I remember actually my first experience with games was I was a little kid and we were still using DOS, and my dad would play after dinner. We would go down and we would play DOS games like Commander Keen or Crystal Caves or Cosmo, and he would play with the control, because the typical controls for these types of games that use Control and Alt. Usually Control was jump and Alt was a fire key or whatever, and then you use the arrows. And so he would do that, and then I would sit on the other side of the keyboard and hit Control and Alt as well, which in retrospect has got to be the most obnoxious way for my dad to have tried to play any sort of game. So I guess I owe him an apology, and so Dad, I am sorry. If you happen to be watching. Anyway, I think it's an interesting conversation, and certainly a lot of people in the comments have experienced the whole dial-up era, which I think is it is interesting to think that people won't know. I know my little brother now has an iPad. I wasn't allowed to have a cell phone until I was 17, but he has an iPad. I'm not bitter. And one of the things that fascinates me is that whenever I go home, I got him Minecraft for the iPad, and I hate iPad games like that where it's like you're trying to do all these touch controls and stuff, because it's too much for me to try and do. And just watching him use the iPad and the speed at which he uses the stuff is just, it boggles my mind. And he's a little kid, and I'm just trying to figure out, like, he's going to be doing some crazy Minority Report shiz by the time, you know, he's in high school. So I think, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what future generations are going to be now that they haven't had to install, you know, games using 87 different floppy disks. So I think at this point I'm supposed to talk about a new topic. But to be honest, I kind of like the way that this channel is going, as being less of a topic channel and more of just a rolling dialogue, so I don't want to necessarily push anything too far out there. But one of the things that I've been thinking about recently is the Oscars, because the nominations were just announced, and I made a list. There's 50-some, I think 55 films and short films, and I'm thinking because now that I'm doing YouTube stuff and I want to get into more narrative types of stuff, I'm thinking maybe I should try and watch them all before the Oscars happen, and then I can make my own predictions and get mad and enraged and all that sort of fun stuff. Again, I've never done that before. So yeah, I don't know if that's even necessarily a topic, but I mean, what do you guys think about the Oscars and award shows in general? Are they things that you necessarily care about? Do you think that they even reflect what films and stuff were good? I honestly don't know, because I've never paid too much attention. I mean, my favorite movie is Groundhog Day, and that was a very long time ago. I tend not to keep up with many contemporary movies, so I have no basis for judging that, but I'm thinking maybe I'm going to try and get through all 55 things before the show, and then I'll have a better idea. But yeah, so if you want to just keep the conversation rolling, that's fine. But also, what's your favorite movie? And do you like contemporary movies? And I don't know, you can go in all sorts of directions with this. Talk about, oh, movies these days have too many special effects and we don't spend time on writing, or oh, 3D is terrible. Anything, just movies, generically, or not. It's up to you. I'll see you guys soon.